Anime to a lot of people is an escape from reality. A reality that's grim, boring, depressing, and cruel. With the power of animation, people from across the globe immerse themselves in space adventures, fantasy worlds, animes about pirates, Saiyans, ninjas, and ancient Chinese generals. But to some, these animes are for children. What they seek is doom. In 2020, I fell into a long depression. I was training to become a teacher while surrounded by a younger generation who were straight up doomers. In the quiet, chill moments, their doomerism spread and affected others. They kept repeating, "What you do has no impact. The world is doomed. There's nothing we can do. There's no hope. Why should I care?" These comments eventually got to me. I spiraled into a depression, and my escape from the noise, the continued spew of defeatism, the dark and depressing fate of the world, was anime. I rewatched One Piece, reread Attack on Titan, watched and read Vinland Saga, and I finally found Vagabond. There were hundreds of animes out there. Some were downright depressing. They fed the spiral. Others were so uplifting that they broke my depression and helped me reject Doomerism. This video seeks out a question that I've grappled with ever since. How is Doomerism used in anime? Some of the anime mentioned in this video use Doomerism to reinforce fascism, nihilism, and defeatism, while others use Doomerism and engage with dark themes only to subvert them, providing an anti-fascist message, a message of courage, resilience, and resistance. The world out there is dark, it's grim, it's cruel, which is why I believe this video is needed. We're going to take a look at all shades of animes, from the jolly obnoxious anime to the abyss, and hopefully by the end of this video you'll find ways to fight and utterly reject Doomerism. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe. Join my crew. I'm currently trying to gather a crew of 10,000 pirates to fight the supposed doomed fate of our world. Become my nakama. Become my sons. For those who are doomers, apathetic, people who live for the doom and the despair, tell me, what's your favorite doomerist anime? Why do you vibe with darkness? And if you're not a doomer, enlighten us on how you fight Doomerism. Let there be light. If there's one kind of anime doomers despise, it's those light-hearted, jolly shonen animes. The hatred of these animes runs in multiple ways. A viewer who is depressed, sad, disappointed with their life cannot vibe with the main character who believes with an unshakable conviction that there is hope and possible futures. The main characters in these light-hearted animes are normally people who smile, eat a ton of food, and are somewhat carefree. They have an unbreakable resolve to fight, to do the impossible, and to become stronger despite many, many setbacks. They have dreams, goals, aspirations, are driven, and when they do get depressed, when they do face reality, they just happen to instantly bounce back. These characters also care about others. They have heart, soul, and love. To the apathetic, the doomers, to the people out there who refuse to believe in a future, these characters are simply unrealistic. These animes are unrelatable. Yet, they contradict and can challenge a doomer. Thus the first hatred bleeds into the second. To those who value the dark, the gritty, the grounded, the realistic, These animes are boxed as childish. They're for babies. They sit way below the anime doomers seek. This elitism brushes past some really dark themes these so-called childish animes deal with. Take Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z is beloved in the anime community, but doomers don't really see it as worthy. It's a great escapist anime, but Goku really bothers doomers. Goku almost always wins. He might be a bad anime dad, but the training he goes through is truly inspirational. And sure, he dies like 10 times, but almost every character gets revived. Death is a joke in Dragon Ball. Tied into this anime about a Saiyan who wants to be the very strongest, Toriyama brought in Space Hitler. Frieza is a dude who is genocidal. He is an imperialist, a space colonist who enslaves weaker people to fight for his empire. He dehumanizes people who he deems as lesser than him, has committed multiple genocides, and he's a child killer. Goku in this light is not just a beacon of hope, he is an anti-fascist who straight up kills Space Hitler. Doomers, those who dwell in the realm of nihilism, hate, and I mean hate with a passion, One Piece. They cannot fathom how this is the top-selling manga in all of history. Luffy and One Piece are continuously trashed because the show has no real stakes. They claim Luffy will always win. And you know what? They're mostly right. One Piece is a lighthearted anime. It's jolly, silly, fantastical. But Oda, a successor to Toriyama, uses the light as a facade to talk about some really dark topics. From slaves to a slave trade, to racism, to genocide, to ethnic cleansing, to massacres, and how the world government oppresses the people of One Piece. One Piece is also deeply political. Luffy's dad is a revolutionary who knows the genocidal nature of the world government. Facing such an enormous power, both Luffy and Dragon use a revolutionary hope to keep fighting. For Luffy, it's his dream to become the Pirate King. For Dragon, it's pain, rage, and fire. However, some of these animes may bring light to the apathetic. They might heal a nihilistic heart, but most people who are in a doomer's mindset can't get into these animes. They're way too lighthearted and probably painfully depressing to watch. One can escape into these worlds, but we wrap back to that hatred of characters who are living a somewhat carefree life, smiling and motivated to fight. So let's enter the Twilight to find some insight. The animes in this category have personally challenged me. They are written with darkness in mind. Many are grounded and are almost too realistic. The darkness, the nihilism, and the doomerism are not set in stone. Most of these stories are not defeatist. They don't feed the view that the world is naturally cruel, dark, and grim, that the world is doomed, that we live in a dog-eat-dog world where humanity has two choices: give up and be apathetic, or fight for a fascist future. No, the doomerism is subverted. Be it a Viking child who joins the war and participates in inhumane war crimes to avenge his father, only to turn out empty, apathetic, and a broken husk. Despite this doomerism, the core thesis resonates. What does it mean to be a true warrior? Is it killing and massacring people? Or is it finding heart and creating a new future? A world without war and slavery?
遥かな西、海の向こう。どんな権力も届かない、どんな奴隷商人も知らない水平線のずっと向こうの地。
Or a mad scientist who goes back in time over and over and over and over to save his friends in the world from World War III. In one known timeline, he emerges as a broken man, believing that the future is fixed, and becomes a depressed college student.
世界線でタイムマシンに運命を翻弄される人たちよ。お前の結末の一つさえ見てきた。何度も何度も繰り返したんだ。そして人にできることには限りがあると知った。何をしても無力なんだ。
The Okabe in Steins Gate Zero is a beast. He's a man who believes that there's a future that's worth jumping 3,000 times to save.
Ed, beside a kangaroo.
Or a vagabond, a man who is seen as a monster by those around him, so he internalizes the dehumanization until he gets humbled by a monk. He begins to walk a path of discovery to see if he really is the very strongest under the heavens. But the man comes face to face with other monsters. Vagabond asks its readers, what does it really mean to be strong? The creator of Vagabond may have quit, but in my opinion, the journey is complete. Or Orb, an anime about the movements of the earth, truth in entrusting one's dreams to the future, despite the repression of the church. Orb hits hard, it's tense, but the anime serves as a reminder to scholars that although knowledge may be lost, that although scholars may get oppressed, killed, and hunted down when fascism rises, it's always worth it to entrust your dreams and aspirations to the future. Or my personal favorite, Monster. A 72-episode anime about monsters. Monster is a psychological thriller that follows a doctor on the run as he chases after a murderer, Johan. Monster is about a lot of things. It asks its viewers about if one life is more valuable than another. It wants its viewers to think about murder and education. It gets dark with its display of child abuse, child experimentation, child manipulation, and child rights. What hooked me and messed me up when I first watched it was this most important question. Who is the monster? Is it Dr. Tenma, Johan, the child abusers, the nameless monster in the picture books, the Nazis, or is there another monster? From my reading, the author leaves this question open. He wants you to figure out who the monster is, and there's a horrifying beauty to that. On the other hand, Monster has a message. Each and every one of us has a monster within us, a monster that feeds off nihilism and defeat. It's a terrifying monster that seems unbeatable, untamable, but it can be defeated.
虚無、破壊衝動、闇に取り込まれない人間を作りたかった。どうやると思うね。愛情。まったく新しい発見だったよ。
The animes that dwell in the Twilight fascinate me, because each and every one of them has a core idea that I know will challenge you. It's almost like they're written with care. They were designed to affect people, to make people think about their themes, psychology, the human condition, and to challenge the reader. Rewatching these animes made me rethink a very complex question. Why do people watch anime? Some people watch for the awe, to see how far animation can go, to see worlds that stretch beyond the imagination. Others are in it for the story, like Oda. What even is the One Piece? I've been reading One Piece for 20 years now, and I don't have a clue what it is. Okay, Oda, you gotta tell me what One Piece is. Okay. There are others who find inspiration in the animation, in a well-choreographed scene, but also in the message. For me, the message is the heart and the soul of an anime. I personally like to be challenged with Doomerism. I love it when I can vibe with the darkness, but the author spins it, forcing me to reflect. Sometimes these Twilight animes border the darkness, like Neon Evangelion, an anime that messes me up every single time I watch it. It always challenges me, and yet it somehow ends with an anti-doomer message. Other times, the anime makes me think too deeply, like Vinland Saga and its pacifism, or One Piece, an anime that directly references Japanese war crimes and crimes committed against humanity. Oda purposely pulls his readers from the fantasy back to reality when One Piece gets dark. On the flip side, the core, the heart, and the soul can be tainted and toxic. It pulls doomers in like they're moths attracted to shit on fire, and sells them an anime that echoes a message they already have playing on repeat. That the world is cruel, dark, grim, it's doomed. They should just give up on fighting for a future and give in to apathy. Just give in to the cruel reality. It's how the world really works. Might makes right, right? The weak are destined to die. The darkness thus attempts to crush the fire in these grey animes. They try to extinguish this fire with defeat, with set fates and set futures. So let's take a plunge into darkness, into doom. Nihilism is the belief that life is meaningless. Everything is meaningless. It's a really dark and twisted philosophy that would go on to inspire the Nazis, fascism, and an apocalyptic kind of thinking. Nihilism has touched every corner of the world, from anime to history. When I was in Masters, my professors kept warning me about those who write history with a determinist mindset, in that what has happened throughout history was fate. There were no other possible futures. Historians who use nihilism thus lack faith in humanity's ability to change, to learn from the past, and create futures. The world is doomed. It is fated for destruction. Most of these historians derive this bias from the Bible. In other words, complete and utter defeat. In this light, resistance is futile, because might makes right. And if the resistance did win in some historical moments, they just got lucky. The Soviets got lucky. The Chinese Red Army, the Cubans, the Algerians, the Vietnamese, they were just all lucky. In truth, the resistance defied their supposed fates. The same kind of writing of history can be seen in anime and manga. And like history, they spew a dangerous ideology. I've talked about Attack on Titan to death on this channel, and in a future Turb video, but I want to clarify the Doomerism in Attack on Titan, because it's peak Doomer. Attack on Titan's framing is purposely made muddy. Is it an anime about freedom from the Titan threats? Or is it about how the world is a naturally cruel place? A world where if you're weak, you get eaten. So the only choice you have is to fight. But fight what? Systems that govern the world? Fascism? Nah. The external enemies continue to fluctuate. First, it's the Titans. Then it's Reiner, Annie, and Bertolt. However you say his fucking name. Then it's the internal enemies. The king, the secret police, and the royals. Finally, when the island is liberated from internal and external threats, the enemy becomes the entire world.
向こうにいる敵全部殺せば俺たち自由になれるのか
Eren Yeager reminds me of a German dictator who thought of the same exact thing. As much as I love trashing this dog-eat-dog framing, Vinland Saga did it first and has done it better. But from this framing, you can tell that Isayama had chosen a fate for his world. The solution Isayama came up with when building his world was determinist. Isayama first planned to end his manga with ultimate Doomerism. The world was supposed to end. Everyone dies. The end. To this day, I keep getting comments on my videos that actually, Attack on Titan is anti-fascist. It's anti-doomer. It's about freedom. I'm just illiterate. I read it wrong. Isayama is God. How dare I try and interpret his vision and message? How dare I insult the author? Or I get people who tell me to chill out. It's just an anime, bro. These people are chill, but they believe Attack on Titan doesn't really have a nefarious message. It's just centrist lop. On the rare occasion, however, fascists join in. Fascists who take real pride in the series and the doomerism it spreads. They spread conspiracies about Europa, the last battle. Revel in Eren's genocide, in the apathy needed to commit such an act, in the freedom Eren attains as he soars, crushing human beings like they're insects. If you watch The Rumbling and you aren't horrified, if this excites you, you're a twisted fascist fuck. Attack on Titan is a prime example of how not to use doomerism in a story, because it feeds fascism and apathy. It normalizes genocide and refuses to integrate any kind of resistance. By resistance, I mean both physical and mental. The future, according to Isayama, is set in stone. History is cyclical. It's cynical. Which is why the ending is hollow and vapid. Isayama envisions a future of endless war, endless suffering. The ending kills any hope of a world without war. It robs hope. It kills imagination. To the die-hard fans, I ask you, I beg you to sit with these questions. Is resistance futile? When is it ever justified to defeat an invading force with genocide? Is it childish to believe in a better world? Is the future set in stone? Do you believe in fate? Or is humanity more complex? Don't we have dreams and imagination? Shouldn't it be natural to have empathy with the oppressed and fight beside them? Or is the future lost? Is it doomed? Is it really a lost future? I'm not going to answer these questions. Sit with them. Think about the many times where oppressed peoples defied their fates. In this darkness, there also dwells hundreds of isekai animes about weak-ass loser misogynistic male characters who get transported into a world where they become powerful and get their revenge. These animes are specifically made for men who hate women, who think they are doomed because they haven't ever spoken to a woman. These doomers wish and fantasize about having power, a power to control and abuse women. These animes are twisted too. They normalize violence and teach vitriol hate. Most of these main characters resemble the targeted audience. They're like Eren Yeager, pathetic, maidenless men. Go outside, talk to people, make friends and have fun. And you might think I'm a cruel person for saying all these things, but I get doomers. I was once a doomer myself. I spiraled over and over. I thought I was a failure. I wasn't good enough. I hated going out in public because I thought I could read people. I thought everything was meaningless. I felt numb, emotionless, apathetic. I hated myself more than anyone in the entire world. The spiral continued. The toxic thoughts paralyzed me, and when it peaked, I started having severe panic attacks. Going outside isn't the cure to doomerism. The true cure is fire. So let's dive into the flames. Trust me, you won't get burnt as long as you have a fire burning within you. Kingdom is an anime that's mostly about epic wars. The story follows a young peasant called Shin, who dreams of being the greatest general under the heavens. Although it's a great series about war, the author likes to give his readers a break with philosophy. In volume 70, Shin debates a doomer who believes mankind is naturally evil. So he throws a binary question at Shin. Is man's true nature good or evil? With his doomerist bias, he thinks Shin would naturally fold and agree with his determined conclusion that mankind is naturally evil. He holds a very cynical, grim view about humanity and the world. In his eyes, the world is naturally cruel, and thus humans adapt to this world by committing cruel acts. Shin, this peasant who at this point in the manga is a general, a man who participated in multiple wars, seen war crimes and cruelty, rejects this nihilist cynical take. Shin answers by saying, man's true nature is fire. That humanity carries two fires within them, the fire of life and the fire of will. Shin's philosophy is simple. The fire of life is having the will to continue to live, but this fire comes with struggle. The fire of will is something that is entrusted, or it's inherited, but Shin also highlights that he has taken the fire of his enemies. Their will, their dreams, their fear and pain become a part of Shin's. However, there are more fires. The anime orb also incorporates a will of fire, but with knowledge and dreams. It's an anime about scientifically discovering the true nature of the solar system, which at the time contradicted the model the church followed and taught. Thus, anyone found researching the heliocentric model was labeled a heretic and were instantly burnt to death. By killing scholars, the church attempted to snuff their fire, but the dream of showing the world this truth gets entrusted and the research continues. This might sound kind of boring, but what hooked me was that orb focuses an importance on entrusting the future with dreams, inspiration, and conviction. Both the will of fire and this entrusting can be found in another anime, One Piece. When I read Kingdom and Orb, I kept thinking back to the will of D. The concept of inherited will is common in anime, but Kingdom, Orb, and One Piece use it as a revolutionary tool, a dream that intentionally or unintentionally keeps getting passed on. Some people willingly choose to inherit this will. Others stumble into it, inheriting the fire of the past, mixing it with their own rage and disgust towards the world government. And then you have Luffy, a person who's completely unaware that he has inherited the will of Gol D. Roger. One Piece, like Orb, stresses the importance of having a dream. Dreams are what light the fire of a life, and later become fires of will. On the other hand, you have the more darker animes that take a completely different approach. Mob Psycho is an anime about trauma. It's about the fear of showing your emotions and bottling them inside. Mob is a character who has super godlike powers, and yet he firmly holds the belief that he isn't anyone special, and rather tries his best to improve himself by joining the Body Improvement Club or by simply relying on people, on his friends and mentor. People need other people is Mob Psycho's core message. Learning how to lean and trust others takes courage. It's a fearful act because it requires one to open their hearts. In the same light, Evangelion is considered to be one of the top Doomerist animes of all time, but it's not. It's anti-Doomer. Yeah, it's fucked up, and will mess you up when you first watch it, but it's really about Shinji's journey. He starts out as this depressed kid who is seen as useless by his father to one of the few people who can operate an EVA. Yet despite being useful, he's still depressed, alone, and unloved. At its core, EVA is about learning when to stop running. To not be like Shinji, to not run from your problems, your fears, anxieties, and isolate yourself. EVA is about leaning on others. It's about opening your heart to others, trusting them, and trusting yourself. Thus, the final scene hits. Like if you're not tearing up when you're watching this, either you don't have a heart, or you got the wrong message. Opposite to EVA is Gurren Lagann. Lagann is an anime that is filled to the brim with motivation, with optimism, the capacity to do the impossible by drilling the heavens. But it has Doomerism in it. A Doomerism a lot of people experience and give into. The threat to humanity is a collection of universes that were forced to give up. The anti-spirals are Doomers. They go and conquer planets and universes with Doomerism. According to them, resistance, fighting fate, fighting doom is futile. Just give in, and everything will be alright. Why fight back? Why resist? The world is doomed. Just accept it. Lagann utterly rejects nihilism and Doomerism. There's nothing that can stop humanity's drill. Fate? Fuck fate. We have a drill that's on fire. Most of these animes that seek to ignite a fire within us feature main characters who already have fires. Shin, Luffy, the astronomers in Orb, Simon, Goku, Vegeta, Naruto, the Moon Brothers, all have bright and wonderful fires. But they don't really tackle a situation where one loses their fire, where the fire dies, and all that remains is the abyss, void, complete and utter emptiness. Vinland Saga is one of the few animes that takes on this emptiness. It has a couple of core messages: fatherhood, revenge, a dog-eat-dog world that seems to be locked in perpetual war, and redemption. Thorfinn, son of Thors, has a fire within him, a fire spurred by revenge. He follows a Viking crew, fighting in battles, killing innocents who are weaker because it was their fate.
戦場じゃ弱いやつから死んでいく。おめえみてえにな。
Until Ashilad dies. The fire of revenge gets snuffed out, and Thorfinn becomes completely empty. One can argue that Thorfinn was already empty when he was an apathetic warrior fighting in bloody battles and killing innocents because it was his job. It's why he gets so mad when Ashilad asks him what he's gonna do next.
俺が死んでからその先どう生きるつもりだ、トルフィン。
Thorfinn's been empty for a very long time. Thus, the emptiness in this scene is an emptiness of ambition. Thorfinn's fire of life had been snuffed out. Makoto Yukimaru, being a genius, ignites a new fire within Thorfinn by haunting him, by continuously reminding him of those who he had killed, until he falls into a pit of perpetual warfare.
勝敗はない。終わりもない。ここじゃ自分以外は全員敵なのさ。
Thorfinn himself has to physically and mentally climb out of his apathetic, nihilistic state and become a true warrior by creating a village without war and slavery, to chase a fire of redemption. Vinland Saga has inspired a lot of fans who thought the farming arc would be a total bore, but it isn't. And I think Yukimaru intentionally wanted to fight emptiness, to convey to his readers and future viewers that you need to physically and mentally climb. That sometimes you need to find your own fire, even if it's linked to the mistakes you've made.
メソメソしてる暇はねえぞ。またここに落ちたがねえんだろうが。ならそいつらをぶら下げたまま登れ。登れ。本当の戦いを戦え。本当の戦士になれ。トルミエ。
Whenever I lose my fire, the thing that reignites it is a rage. Not the childish, edgy rage of Eren Yeager, but a rage that stems from the years of researching history and theory. A rage that stems from oppression. A rage that burns so hot, it melts the chains of apathy, of nihilism and doomerism. It's the kind of rage that allows me to wake up in the morning and research genocides, ethnic cleansings, and horrors beyond imagination. Rage is necessary. It's needed to decolonize a country or a mind. Rage opens the heart, because there are people out there who watch the ongoing genocides in Gaza, in Palestine, and in Sudan, and have cold, apathetic hearts. They feel nothing towards those who are suffering. They instantly give in to defeat. They believe resistance is futile, but what goes over their heads is that within every resistance fighter, there burns a fire of rage, a fire of justice.
It's not a conflict, it's a liberation movement fighting for justice.
And a dream, a simple, sweet little dream to have human rights, dignity, and liberation. As we all know, dreams never die. On a more practical note, if you're feeling empty, if you're in a state of despair, a state of defeat, open your heart, let things affect you. And if you're feeling completely useless, an utter failure of a human being, help someone. It may be a small act, but these small actions will reignite a fire. Once it's lit, don't let your heart die. And don't ever let your fire die out.
バッバシン火を絶やすでないぞ
We live in a world that is continuously trying to condition us that there's no hope. Headline after headline, Project 2025, police states, Trump, a manufactured doom, a manufactured hopelessness. I ain't here to tell you that the threat of fascism isn't real. It's the opposite. Fascism is real, and it's in America. It's rising in Britain, Germany, and Japan. But the fascists want you to feel small. They want you to kneel and give up. They want you to feel powerless. That there's absolutely nothing you can do. That this is fate. With social media, this doomerism is amplified. You're barraged with bad news. It's soul-crushing, and a cycle begins anew. One thing most of the animes I covered in this video get wrong is the portrayal of a powerful, godlike main character. In reality, the individual is weak. We are weak. We are powerless, but our actions are never in vain. United humanity can crush fascism, but to unite, to disintegrate class boundaries, one must first internally resist doomerism and apathy. When I dip into doomerism, I think about what George Jackson went through. A life trapped in prison, writing, expressing his fire. Jackson teaches people how to organize, how to resist fascism, how to actually fight it, and he has given a lot of people fire. I think about Fana, a black man in France, eyes gazing at him, their voices whispering that a black man dares to walk the streets of Paris. I think about how affected he was by the apathetic French citizens, how their cold silence cut through him and motivated him to join the FLN, to fight side by side with Algerians in their struggle for national liberation. Fana talks a lot about the decolonization of the mind, but if you skipped over his black skins and white masks, you'd miss that his mind was once colonized. Fana broke the chains of apathy, of silence. His rage, the rage of the Algerians, was his fire. And yet, even in the darkest of days, when the fire seemed to be snuffed out, Fana always believed Algeria would be liberated, it would be freed, that there was a dying colonialism, because he had revolutionary optimism and hope. Hope is a discipline. For those who aren't radicalized, you might not get it, because your heart wavers. You slip and fall and cycle into doomerism. To have a disciplined hope means to utterly reject doomerism. It is to utterly reject nihilism. Yet, how does one escape the void, the emptiness, the doom? The answer I came up with when making this channel was to share my fire. If you're currently lacking a fire, I'll give you some of mine. I want my fire to burn so fucking bright. I want my rage to melt an apathetic heart and inspire people. I want to affect people. The truth is, lost futures at some point became a promise to myself that I'll never believe that the future is lost. Lost futures is my philosophy that utterly rejects doomerism. It burns with fires of different revolutionary fighters and boldly tells anyone who watches my videos that the future isn't lost. It isn't a lost future. Open your hearts. Feel my rage. Feel the pain and the struggle of others, and take action. Build a fire strong enough that it burns doomerism. It burns cold, apathetic hearts and crushes fascism, crushes Zionism. Hey, welcome to the end of the video. If you enjoyed what you watched, make sure you subscribe, or consider supporting the channel on Patreon. This video was initially supposed to be a neat, small, little baby 41-minute video, but it became a beast fast. It took a lot of work to make this, and making it helped with my depression. Though, I had some help. I was terribly ill near the end of March. My voice was dead, but a comrade encouraged me to record. So if the audio was rough and I sounded like, really, really rough when I was speaking, and the coughing, it's because I was sick. That's not my natural voice. This is what I normally sound like, and yeah. When making this video, I thought a bit about Mark Fisher, a man who wrote about depression and lost futures. Fisher took his own life, and that haunts me, to be honest. When people realize that my channel and my philosophy are based off Fisher, I tell them that I'm not copying or plagiarizing his work. I've simply inherited his fire. Also, a tiny bit of reflection here, but it's kind of ironic that I got depressed after I wrote this script and lost all motivation to make a video. When I was in that state of mind, I felt like, who am I? Who am I to talk about fighting doomerism and depression and apathy and darkness and all that stuff? I'm just as depressed. But a professor of mine once helped me fight depression. It wasn't anime that got me out of that deep, dark 2020 depression. It was a professor who told me to have heart, to find heart. A very cryptic and poetic kind of advice, but I translated it to fire. I honestly don't know if this video will help or affect people, and that's kind of frightening. If it's helped, let me know. Thank you again for watching another long ass video of mine where I yap about anime. I appreciate all the support and the fire you all lend me. Take care out there, and don't forget to take care of yourself. Oh, no.